Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to have you here today because we are going to unpack one of the absolute most fascinating origin stories in modern history. We're demystifying the true origins of Bitcoin. We're going to strip away all the heavy jargon, look at the cold hard facts, and understand exactly why this machine was built and who the mysterious architect behind it might actually be. Okay, let's dive into this.
Well, to understand the solution, we first kind of have to understand the problem, right? Think back to 2008. The world was literally on fire financially. But how exactly did the worst financial crisis of our time, this moment of absolute global panic, quietly birth a mysterious new currency? You know, it wasn't an accident. It was a direct reaction. So to see how this all happened, we really need to set the stage.
Section 1. The 2008 Financial Crisis.
For those of you who remember it, 2008 was terrifying. If you look at the historical data, this was severe, literally the second worst economic crisis in history, trailing only behind the Great Depression of the 1930s. The scenes coming out of the United States were just stunning. But of course, it didn't stop there. The crisis quickly spread from the US to the rest of the world like wildfire, creating what our source material perfectly describes as an unprecedented global economic and financial chaos. It was a theatrical chaos, really. Markets tumbling, institutions crumbling, and everyday people watching their life savings just evaporate.
And according to our source material, the chief culprits were pretty clear. The origins of the meltdown are largely attributed to greedy financial institutions and major banks that facilitated massive overborrowing, completely without control. The source actually describes these entities as acting like system lords, running the global economy with zero accountability. It was exactly this perception of rampant misconduct that set the stage for a massive global rebellion.
Section 2. Enter Satoshi Nakamoto.
Right in the middle of all this financial wreckage, a mysterious and really interesting player appeared quietly. Now, what's really interesting about this timeline is the eerie, stealthy way this revolutionary rollout happened. Right during the absolute chaos of 2008, on August 18th, a domain quietly popped up on the internet, bitcoin.org. The identity of whoever registered it was completely hidden, using a service called WhoisGuard. For the first 72 days, there was just total silence. Nobody had a clue what the site was for. Then, suddenly, on October 31st, an announcement dropped on a crypto mailing list over at medstout.com.
That announcement was signed with a pseudonym that is now legendary, Satoshi Nakamoto. But who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Is it a single brilliant programmer? Is it a whole group of people? To this very day, no one knows. The identity of the person or group who architected this entire system remains completely unknown. It is a literal true crime level mystery wrapped in financial code.
Section 3. The Bitcoin White Paper.
When Satoshi Nakamoto made that October 31st announcement, they didn't just say hello. They published a 12-page written guide detailing their invention. This effectively became the Bitcoin Constitution. At the very core of this document was a revolutionary concept. Satoshi claimed they had built a fully functional electronic peer-to-peer monetary system. Simply put, this is a currency traded among individuals directly and privately. The absolute key here? Third parties and central monitoring authorities are completely excluded. You literally don't need a bank to approve your transaction.
Section 4. Bypassing the middleman.
The posts published under Satoshi's name in 2008 and 2009 were explicit about their reasoning. The main goal of creating this digital monetary system was to cut out external intermediaries. Why? Because these intermediaries, the banks, the credit card companies, are making astronomical profits off of our transactions. Just look at the revenues of what our sources call the system lords. To put it in perspective, Visa's net revenue in 2021 was over $24 billion. And the banking giant JP Morgan, their net revenue in just a 12-month period leading up to last August exceeded $121 billion. They make these huge profits annually straight from transaction fees.
So the crucial point is the stark contrast we're looking at here. In the traditional banking system, external intermediaries are totally required and they charge high transaction fees. Bitcoin's alternative offers direct individual-to-individual transfers with zero transaction fees. It was designed specifically to cut these costly middlemen out of the picture entirely.
Section 5. Escaping centralized control.
But you know, Satoshi wasn't just targeting corporate greed. The white paper also takes aim at the broader macroeconomic villains, central banks that control the wealth of nations. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mechanism of how traditional systems squander your personal savings. It highlights a vicious cycle. Step 1.
Central banks decide to print money to pay off local debts. Step 2. This obviously increases the amount of money in circulation. Step 3. Because there's more money out there, the inflation rate rises. Step 4. This drops individuals' purchasing power, squandering their savings. And finally, the inevitable result is the deterioration of everyday living standards.
Which leaves us with a pretty harsh reality presented by the sources. Chaos or crises occurring in the monetary system are borne almost entirely by consumers and taxpayers. I mean, that is exactly what happened in 2008. The core argument for the Bitcoin alternative is that there is no central authority with the tools to impoverish individuals through institutional misconduct.
Section 6. Crypto in the Arab world.
Let's ground this in reality for a second and look at how this applies globally today. Before anyone jumps headfirst into this new system, it's an absolute necessity to understand the legal landscape, which varies wildly. Not all countries treat digital currencies the same way. Actually, most of the Gulf countries allow digital currency exchange. For instance, in Bahrain, there are actively licensed platforms like the Rain app, officially licensed by the Central Bank of Bahrain. On the flip side, countries like Iraq, Egypt, and Algeria currently do not allow it at all. It's really crucial to pay attention to these legal statuses in your specific region.
Okay, so we've covered the why and the who behind the birth of Bitcoin. But what about the how? How does this peer-to-peer machine actually function without a central bank? Well, in our next explainer, we're going to break down blockchain, the foundational technological basis that makes this entire cryptocurrency system work. You definitely won't want to miss it.
Before we go, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We've seen the 2008 crash, we've seen the massive profits of the intermediaries, and we've seen Satoshi's master plan to cut them out entirely. Now that you know exactly why the Bitcoin machine was built to bypass the middlemen, will it eventually replace the banks that birthed it? Take some time to think about that, and I'll see you in the next explainer.